So the caterers are going to be setting up a little bit, so there might be a little bit of rustling. I just want to say it's a good point in the morning to grab some more coffee, grab some more food. There's breakfast. But I'm also going to start doing our Sunshine Awards presentation. We only have 30 minutes, and there's quite a few people to recognize and acknowledge. One thing I would like to say is how we're going to go about this is I'm going to announce the Sunshine Award winners. I would like you to please stand and be recognized. And then when we're done, I'll have all the winners come up here and I will hand you your award and we'll take photos as everyone starts moving to their session. That'll be the most efficient way for us to do it, to make sure that we don't delay you people getting into those wonderful presentations that start at 10:45. Lunch will be in this room, so when you're done with your session at 10:45, you can come back in here and just grab lunch whenever you're back. They should have the catering ready to go. And remember that we will have a live broadcast during lunch of Due South, WUNC's radio program. So they will be broadcasting right here. And so it could be a neat experience to get to see. I'm Pate McMichael again. I'm the director of the North Carolina Open Government Coalition, and this is my favorite part of the year because we celebrate Sunshine Week. Last week I was in D.C. It was very stormy when we were trying to celebrate Sunshine Week. We literally got canceled by the tornado. And that metaphor is just true, and I think we should start by acknowledging that we are living in a very unprecedented time when we're not moving in the direction of sunshine. We are moving in a much darker direction of secrecy, corruption, authoritarianism, and we would be remiss to not acknowledge that and say that, our FOIA offices are often shuttered now. Many of the people that were doing the work of freedom of information have been doged. It's not a time for us to shy away from the fact that it is harder now than ever for us to get information that we are entitled to as citizens of this country, but also this state. Our legislature has passed restrictions on public records laws, open government policies. We deal with folks every day through our hotline who are having the runaround to get records, to get access. And so it's very important for us to meet and to have this summit and to celebrate the people that are out there putting action where it matters and demanding in their communities that they see the records, that they can attend the meetings, that everything's not done in closed session. And I mention that just because that's a core part of why the North Carolina Open Government Coalition was founded. We were founded, incorporated in 2003, and we've been at Elon University since 2007. Many of the people that started this organization are in the room today, and we're going to have quite a great celebration, not only of what's happening right now, but our legacy and the long-term impact that the coalition has had across the state. It's actually a positive story in what is a very dark time for transparency. I want to start by doing the Sunshine Awards for public service. These are awards that recognize public employees, government agencies who have provided outstanding access to public information. Last year was my first year in this job, and I probably didn't do a great job publicizing it. We didn't have anyone to recognize, which in some ways was a little bit fitting to the time. But that's not the case today. We're very lucky to have two people or two groups of people to acknowledge. I want to first start out by recognizing Lexington Mayor Jason Hayes. If you'd please stand, Mayor Hayes. He's in the building. He took the trip over today. We receive these nominations often through email, through a form on our website, and I just want to read what was passed along to us about Mayor Hayes' tenure in Lexington. In recognition of his exemplary commitment to supporting local journalism, civic dialogue, and the essential role of a free and independent press. That's why we're recognizing you today, Mayor Hayes, because people in your community feel like you do respect journalism, that you do respect civic dialogue, and you do want the media to be uninhibited. So we applaud you for that, and we hope that you'll continue to do that. In an era when misinformation spreads quickly and trust in institutions is fragile, Mayor Hayes stands out as a public servant who values the role of local journalism, not simply when it is flattering, but when it holds power accountable. That is a breath of fresh air, and I think no one likes to be held accountable, but we all know just how important that is. It may be the core reason we have the First Amendment. So can we have a round of applause for Mayor Jason Hayes? I also would like to acknowledge Public Records Officer Joel Ferndon and Records Analyst Samantha Rivenbark. Is Samantha here today? Hi. Hi, Samantha. It's so nice to see you. I would have to say that much of my job is not hearing the praises of the public records officers and records analysts at most government agencies, but y'all are a nice exception to the rule. You know, one thing that I certainly didn't know, but I have filed, a public records request with your office, and I did get my records back, is that you all have filled over 710 public records requests in the last year, and you released more than 12,000 records. That's an amazing public service, and you should be commended for your transparency and your commitment. The Charlotte Observer actually said that Charlotte-Mecklenburg Schools has supplied all relevant records the Observer has requested since the beginning of 2025. I think that deserves a round of applause, too. We all know educational records are difficult. There are federal protections for students, the FERPA laws, and so we do applaud you, and we hope that you all will continue to fill those requests in a timely manner. And thanks again for spreading a little sunshine down in Charlotte. I'm also going to address our Sunshine Awards in journalism. And I'd like to start by acknowledging our committee. Kate Martin, Lorraine Hearn, Natalie Jennings, Amanda Sturgill, and myself judged these entries, and we had quite a few entries this year, which was really exciting for me, and it was also very difficult for us to make decisions about who deserves a Sunshine Award in journalism, because every entry that we judged was deserving and did speak truth to power and did use public records to tell a story that was important in someone's community. So I just acknowledge that, because not everyone will get a Sunshine Award today, but the great journalism being done in this state is something we should all applaud. We have quite a few exceptional journalists reporting every week and every month, and many of them are in this room today. We don't often thank them enough, but if you see someone whose byline you recognize, I hope that you will say thank you for the public service that they are providing in this state. The first person I would like to recognize is Doug Bach-Clark. Doug, I saw you walk in. He's in the back. He just got here. Yeah, hey, Doug. I didn't know that Doug lived pretty close by, so I was a little late letting him know, and I was like, I hope he's not trying to catch a plane. But he said he just lives right down the road. Doug did this amazing investigation for ProPublica. He wrote about the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and we're just calling it, for our own purposes, the NC Power Grab investigation, because these are the headlines that we judge based on what was an amazing amount of public records work, an amazing amount of interviews. One of the stories was 70 interviews, and just hundreds of public records used to tell the story. The impact is very clear, and the stories received attention all over the world, not just in the state of North Carolina or nationally. He filed dozens of records requests to numerous North Carolina institutions and those outside of the state, ultimately amassing thousands of pages of emails, calendars, business contracts, budgets, and other records that told stories that officials wanted to hide. Officials for the North Carolina court system tried to block turning over certain documents, but ProPublica, both the reporter Doug and the lawyers at ProPublica, fought and got those documents revealed, and the stories were used to expose how a legislative power grab ended up hurting victims of sexual violence. It's quite a scandal that this investigation uncovered, and it can only be done when you have a reporter like Doug who's smart enough to get those records, dogged enough to fight for them, and a media corporation that's willing to sue. And unfortunately, for many of the journalists in the room, that's not a luxury you have, but it's such an amazing thing to see in this story. I think we should also note that when Doug was reporting this story, there were some very strange threats put his way. I think one of the responses I saw was that they were going to tell President Trump what you were up to, and therefore you should stop the story and be quiet because Trump's going to hurt you or cancel you. Something to that effect was one I remember reading at the time. And so, you know, this intimidation that we're seeing, that journalists are facing, it may not be new, but it is at a higher level now than ever, and it is disturbing, and I really applaud Doug and ProPublica for this work. Let's give him a round of applause. We also decided to recognize another investigation this year. Is Kyle Ingram here today? We call this investigation the Judge Griffin Election Challenge Investigation. Kyle, you know, has been reporting on this for some time, and I'm sure all of you in some capacity know about this story and know about this threat to our democracy. And it was really beyond the pale, and I think the reporting just speaks to that in a way that is very important historically to document and acknowledge. Black voters twice as likely to have ballots challenged in Griffin election protests. Who are the 100,000 NC voters with incomplete registrations, right? And this is some of the things that came out of this investigation that I thought were particularly important for why it was recognized. When comparing the challenged voters to the total registered voters of both racial groups, black voters were twice as likely to have their ballots contested. That difference largely persists regardless of the voter's party affiliation. The News and Observer analyzed demographics of 100,000 voters who were included on the state's list. That analysis found an outsized impact on young voters and those unaffiliated with any political party. And what is happening across the state with our elections is an international scandal in many ways, and I think this investigation was so timely and important to exposing the real challenges that we face in North Carolina. I also like this graphic, which were donors to Judge Griffin's legal expense fund, which was used to perpetuate, this effort. And so the News and Observer should be applauded for this type of reporting. And I will say that they did not just have one submission for Sunshine. They had many quality stories submitted. So many of the reporters at the NNO and the Charlotte Observer and across the state do great work. But there are certain names I always look for, and Kyle, yours is right there high up on the list. So thank you for your reporting. I'm doing pretty good on time because I'm having to give myself a little bit of a buffer here. We have a pretty good ending to the Sunshine Awards today. And you won't have to hear from me, which is probably the best part. I was a student media advisor in a former life, and I've seen that student journalists can make a tremendous impact in their communities. Student journalism is real journalism. Student journalism is powerful journalism. Student journalists are often facing the exact same threats that professional journalists are facing. Sometimes it's even worse because administrators at universities suddenly decide they can treat them like children and try to silence them and censor them. So I think it's very important that we continue to acknowledge that work. And Frank Barrows was one of our founding board members. He helped start the North Carolina Open Government Coalition. He was a longtime editor at the Charlotte Observer and also a student media advisor at East Carolina University. This award recognizes the accomplishments of college journalists, newsrooms in North Carolina whose work exemplify the vital role of open meetings, public records, and press access in public life. Today we are recognizing the 9th Street Journal. Can you guys please stand? They wrote a series called Durham's Most Reliable Voters. And I just thought it was a wonderful example of teamwork in a newsroom. College media is so good at this. They work together. It becomes a team effort. And so when I was communicating with them about this award, they were like, how many people can we bring? And I'm just so happy to see that all of you showed up. And you should all know that each one of you wrote a very powerful piece, but collectively, I think that's what really sends this over the top and makes it something special and quite a service to your community. Who is Caitlin? Can you raise your hand, Caitlin? There's Caitlin. Is Valentina here? Thank you, Valentina. What about Reese? Reese is here. Paige? Hey, Paige. Noor? Thank you, Noor. And Jack. I think they said Jack wasn't going to make it. That's right. But that's the team that put together this series. And they wrote more than just 3 bylines. They wrote several. I just couldn't fit them all on the screen. But the stories talked about everything from voting and the power of democracy to the profile they wrote of Catherine Farrell, who's 113 years old and still voting in Durham. That's a remarkable story and a good one to find, a great profile. Sorry, let me go back. I skipped ahead too far. One thing I'd just like to say is that please continue to speak truth to power. Please continue to mentor the next generation of journalists. When you guys graduate, there needs to be another group that comes on behind you who can do the same type of reporting. The public records y'all used, looking at voter information, looking at who votes, when they vote, if they vote, is so important to share because it speaks right to the heart of why we have First Amendment protections. If we don't vote, right, then we really don't have the same argument that we're trying to make to improve things in our community. So thank you all again, and congratulations. All right. We have one final award to give away today, and we're doing a Sunshine Award, not just for advocacy, but for a lifelong commitment to advocacy. And I am going to get some help recognizing this individual. I do want to explain the criteria. We're looking to recognize individuals whose outstanding advocacy on behalf of government transparency, the courtroom, or the public has led to greater access to information and greater understanding. And I don't think there's a person in the state of North Carolina who's done that better than the person we're going to recognize. So to help me recognize our winner today, I'm going to have a dear friend of that person come up and talk about their contribution. Amanda Martin, would you please join me? Amanda Martin from Duke Law.
Good morning. Hugh Stevens is many things. He's a devoted husband and father. He's a loyal and dear friend. He's a world traveler, a lover of art and music, an amazing cook. But for the people in this room, what we probably most appreciate is that Hugh is a remarkable advocate for government transparency and the First Amendment. Hugh's advocacy actually began when he was co-editor of the Daily Tar Heel. So before he even became a lawyer, he was opposing the speaker ban on UNC's campus and fighting for the rights of people to speak on campus regardless of viewpoint. Over an almost 60-year career, Hugh has represented newspapers, television stations, individual journalists, book authors, and the North Carolina Press Association. Whether you realize it or not, you benefit from Hugh's hard work over those 60 years. Thanks in part to Hugh, who was a lobbyist for the Press Association for quite a time, our public records law and open meetings law contain very broad definitions of public bodies and public records. Thanks to that work, agencies have to produce public records even when confidential information is mixed in. And thanks to that work, if you win a public records lawsuit, you most likely will get your attorney's fees paid, making it far easier to bring those. Hugh's litigation record is impressive and too long to list, so I'll focus just on the issues related to government transparency. Hugh represented the News and Observer in a landmark lawsuit against the Pool Commission, and as a result of that, draft public records are still public records. You have an ability to get those documents from the time they're created. Hugh and his partner Mike Toddy represented the Daily Tar Heel against the University of North Carolina, gaining access to information related to sexual assaults on campus. And that lawsuit not only had a result for that client, but a bigger result because it essentially established that if the federal law allows a document to be released, then it has to be released unless there's a specific exemption. Hugh and his law firm and Mike Toddy represented Wamak newspapers against the town of Kitty Hawk and got the largest fee award in a public records case in the state's history. Hugh's clients and opposing counsel and judges would describe Hugh as dogged, as persistent and prepared and effective. And we all benefit from that. I want to add a personal note, and I hope I won't cry, that Hugh is also a remarkable mentor. I met Hugh when I was 28, and I had the privilege of becoming his associate at Everett Gaskins, Hancock, and Stevens. And now, 30 years later, I can say that Hugh taught me more than anyone else how to be a First Amendment lawyer or any kind of lawyer. I am indebted and grateful, and I love you. And it is amazing to have been your mentee. But I'm not alone. Hugh is often the smartest person in the room, but he makes space for the people who are coming behind him to learn and to grow and to have experiences. And he gave us those opportunities right along with a safety net in case we needed it, which is what young lawyers need. There could be no more fitting recipient of this award than my friend and dear mentor, Hugh Stevens.
Absolutely, please.
Thank you, everyone, and particularly thank you, Amanda, not only for what you said this morning, but for what you've done over the years to vindicate the work that we do and now at the Duke University Law School First Amendment Clinic. I just would like to say, very briefly, a shout out to Elon University. I grew up in the shadow of Elon. The only thing between me and the campus was the Alamance Country Club. At that time, it was a sleepy little college where it was understood that if you flunked out of Davidson or UNC or NC State, you went there. And several of my high school classmates did just that. And it stayed that way for a long time until, and it had the reputation of being a place for the academically challenged children of financially gifted parents. Until 1999, when Dr. Leo Lambert became the president, and what has happened since, under his leadership, and Connie Book, who's also a dear friend, is remarkable and wonderful, and I am so overjoyed to see what has happened, and the fact that Elon has always been the home of the Sunshine Center is a great joy to me as well, because it has done a remarkable job of housing that institution. And this gathering today, both the size of it and the scope of it, is a tribute to the school's willingness to take on this role, and I'm eternally grateful for that. And I'm also grateful for this award, mainly because it's bestowed by, I know, a lot of people who have become my dear friends and colleagues over the years. So thank you all very much. It's a wonderful day, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much to you for your We'll take a picture right here. Great, great. DR is going to come up too and give us one final parting before we go today. We'll let them continue to take their pictures. These are some of the important cases that Amanda was mentioning that Hugh was lead counsel on. And those of you with cell phones, you might take a screen of that, especially the students in the room, because these are important markers of our rights in this state, and they're spanning quite a few decades. So it's a remarkable service to this state, to this community. Hugh, we're so grateful to have you here today, and thank you for bringing your wonderful family. It's been a pleasure to meet your wife and your son. A great day to celebrate Sunshine. We're about to have our presentation kick off, so I'm going to have Diara come up and go through a few more housekeeping details with everyone. One more thing. Will the Sunshine Award winners please stay and come up to the stage after Diara is done? Thank you.
Well, all right. So yes, my name is Diara. I'm the program manager here with NC Local. Just want to say thank you to everyone who is here today and to all of our Sunshine Award winners. That was definitely inspiring. So real quick, before we jump into our scheduled programming, just going to go through a couple of reminders, some housekeeping items. So first, please take a moment to review our code of conduct. I know Pete went through it earlier. For anybody who may have shown up late, it is in your program. These sessions, there are a lot, so hopefully you guys have marked out where you want to go. Rooms 7 and 9 are just out these doors down the hall. Rooms 3, 4, 5, and 6 are out these doors to the right. So that will be to the right of the registration table. There are signs, there's screens. Outside every door, you'll see every session as well on those TVs. But if you do have any questions, feel free to ask anyone at the registration table. And those beige phones in the rooms as well are also a resource if you need to call the front desk. All right. Then make sure as you guys leave the room, we do have a banner outside, has NC Local and NC Open Gov's name on there. Make sure you take your pictures and then tag us on the socials. We would love to retweet, repost, rethread, whatever they call it now. We will then return here for lunch. So you see lunch is being set up in the back, so we'll return here. We have a couple of options as well. So we do have 2 affinity lunches happening today. So that will be for, let me make sure I get the names right, Women in Journalism, NC, will be meeting in room 5. So again, that's to the other side of the registration table. And then Spanish language and bilingual journalists Circle of Practice, they will have their lunch meeting in room 6, also again to the right of the registration table. You also have the great joy of witnessing Due South Live being produced here as a live broadcast. So when you come back to this room after you collect your lunch, feel free to enjoy the live recording of WUNC's Due Southside. Is super exciting because I know I listen. So hopefully you guys come through. And if there's time, you'll have opportunity to ask some questions as well. All right, and then we go back to our sessions after lunch. And then we'll go through a couple of blocks of sessions. Everything, again, is in your programming. And then at 3:30, we will have our table talk session. So you'll see that in your program as well. We'll have some sessions in the room. The table talks will be back here. There'll be signage, so make sure that you guys do come through. And then at 4:30, that will conclude our official programming. As Pate mentioned earlier, we do have our after party at the Ben Bar, or Ben the Bar, one of the Ben Bar, there it is. So address is in your program. We talked about parking earlier. Street parking is available, a little precarious, so if you want to carpool, that's fine as well. There is paid parking. All right, I think that covers it. Oh, also big thank you to the Assembly sponsoring our after party. Please let us know if you have any questions, and please do enjoy connecting with each other. I know my first time coming to the summit was last year, and now back this year as managing it. One of the best things about it was meeting so many people from across the North Carolina information ecosystem. So please do make sure you guys are getting business cards, following each other. It is absolutely an enjoyable experience. So that does it for me.
Just one thing to add, if any of you are doing work or you need a space, there is a cafe that used to sell coffee, now has vending. So there's space there. You don't need to be sitting in the hallway. You're welcome, but there's a more comfortable space to chat. You can also go outside. They have a beautiful courtyard. You can eat your lunch out there. You can take advantage of all that McKimmon has to offer. And let's give it up for you because you made this happen. All right. We'll see you back here at lunchtime.